How do you balance business and family? How do you balance alone time with together time? What if you just need to be alone to work on your business, but you feel like you should be with your family? Or you are with your family, but you feel like you should be working on your business? Today, I'm going to give you a super honest answer about balance. Welcome to Explore Your Enthusiasm with me, Tara Swiger. This is episode 257. You can find all the show notes at taraswiger.com/podcast 257. And don't forget, there is a free workshop coming up on how to use essential oils in your workday for your motivation. And yes, there's even an oil called Balance. I'll talk about how to use it. You can sign up for that at taraswiger.com/EO for essential oil. taraswiger.com/EO. So let's start by being honest about balance. It's not real. You're not going to have it. Straight up. So we could stop the podcast here. Bye. Thanks for listening. Or what I want to really say is that the ideal goal of work-life balance, that ideal you're going to get to work-life balance where you're always going to be happy with how much time and energy you're spending on each area of your life, and it always feels balanced and equal and perfect, that is not a goal worth pursuing. Even if it's possible, it's just not worth pursuing. Why? Why am I convinced it's not possible? It's because life is full of curves and changes, and you, as a human being, are not perfectly balanced in what you want. What you want is not really balanced. When I talk to you about balance, what you tell me is that you want the projects you care about to get more of your energy and your enthusiasm. You want to feel like you're connected with your partner and with your kids and with your family members. You want to feel enthusiastic and in the flow of your work. Well, those things aren't about balance. That's about your energy and your enthusiasm, bringing all of it to the moment you're in and letting go of the things you're not doing. So it's not that you want to give 50% to your family and 50% to work. And then if you do that, where is your self-care and fun? 50% is 100%. So when are you going to take care of yourself? When are you going to have fun? When is that going to come in? It's that you want to give 100% to your family when you're with them. And you want to give 100% energy to working on your dream when you do it. And you want to be 100% in on girls' night or the novel you're reading or the nap you're taking. You don't want to sleep 70%. You want to sleep 100% when you're sleeping. And you want to not be tired 100% awake when you're awake, right? So the goal isn't to have everything perfectly in balance. And if you keep pursuing that as a goal, you're always going to feel like you're coming up short because there's always going to be an area of your life that needs more from you, or an area of your life where you want to give more than you're currently giving. So I'm going to suggest that your goal could be instead to be fully engaged and enthusiastic about most of what you're doing with your day in the moment that you're doing it, and to have enough time to spend on the things you care about. So if you missed kind of the first part of this podcast, which was about time and being honest with yourself about where you're spending your time, go back and listen to that. That's episode 256. Go back and listen and then come back to this. So just like we talked about last week, when it comes to balance, first you've got to get really honest with yourself. We're going to get honest in a slightly different way this week. Are you ready? Lots of self-inquiry these weeks. You're going to take an assessment of your life. Where are you spending your time and energy? When you do that, you're going to start identifying categories of activities. So what takes up your actual time? If you're not sure, you can start tracking your time. Somebody on Instagram told me that that's actually what they're doing with their week this week, is they are just making a note every hour of what they're spending time on. And you kind of know the categories in your life that you care about, that you want to have. I'm going to share my categories with you, but yours are going to be different. So do not feel like this needs to be your category. Focus on what you truly care about and what you actually have to do in your day-to-day life. So for me, one category that I don't think anybody can escape if you're an adult human is cleaning and life admin. So this is like doing the dishes, vacuuming, feeding ourselves, making the meal list, dealing with our finances, paying the bills, talking to Jay about financing decisions, parenting decisions. This is taking the kid to school or childcare, taking the dog to the vet, scheduling stuff, going to meetings. So foster care has brought a lot of life admin into my life in the first couple weeks of a new placement. And during some intense times when court dates are coming up, there's just a lot more life admin. It's a category I can't skip. I can skip out on some cleaning for a while or help share those tasks with my partner, but some things have to be done. I have to shower and brush my own teeth. haven't figured out how to outsource that yet. Another category is being a loving mom to the kids who are brought into my life. Now for me, this is a weirdly stop and start kind of thing. I don't always have this category in my life. As I record this, we don't have a kid in our home, so this is not even a category I have 0% time for. But actually, today I'm going to go hang out with one of my past foster babes. So that's like being a loving presence in the life of the kids that are in my life. It could be hanging out with past foster babes. It could be babysitting a friend's kid. It could be hands-on care of new foster babes as they come to me. In years past, when my brothers were younger, this was babysitting and spending time with them. Being a loving presence to the kids in my life is a different category than being in a loving partnership. This has its own category because for me, this is separate. This needs to be important, and this needs to sometimes just be the two of us, not a family thing. Now, sometimes there's crossover. I can be a loving presence to the kids in my life and being a loving partnership. When me and Jay both hang out with Honey, when we have a foster kid in our life and we're doing things together, that kind of hits both categories, but this is also its own separate category. So this is anything with Jay that isn't managing our life. This is like when we eat dinner together, when he comes in the door and we talk about our day, when we go to movies, when we go on day trips to Asheville, when we go on longer trips to Charlotte or California or Oregon. This is an area that like I want in my life daily in the little doses and then regularly in much bigger doses. Another category is work. That's doing the podcast, doing all the things in my doTERRA business, from sending samples to people to teaching workshops to having one-on-one conversations to creating education for my current customers, all of that. This includes Instagram, being live on Instagram, posting on Instagram. This is doing my emails. There's tons of stuff in the work category. That's just work. Also a category I have is reading and learning, and I added in entertainment. So this is like novels, reading nonfiction, listening to podcasts that I'm learning something about my business or myself. This is also journaling, watching biz trainings. It's also entertainment, like when I watch Grey's Anatomy. Another category is joyful movement. So walking, dancing, running, lifting, moving my body some way so that it feels good. That's a category that I want to have in my life regularly. My last category is community, which is hanging out with friends and family. Anything I do with my mom, my brothers, that's my loving community. Going on coffee dates with new friends, texting with friends that are far away, doing trips to visit friends and their kids and their family, going to weddings, going to funerals. That's all under community. So in a life that feels full and enthusiastic and satisfying, I don't want all of these things to be at 10% every day. Like, I am not going to do both community and reading and work and loving partnership and being a loving mom and cleaning all in one day. Instead, I want a couple of these things in each day, and I want them in different doses. Before we were fostering, me and Jay had way more time for loving partnership stuff. And now that I'm fostering, I actually spend more time on community stuff, connecting with my mom friends, going to the park, meeting up with people, both with the kid and without the kid. And so these things are changing all of the time. I don't want them to be the same forever and ever. I want to be fully present for them when I'm doing them, with the exception of life admin. Like, I'm okay with being distracted by a podcast while I'm washing the dishes. And when I'm not doing them, I want to let go of them. Right? I don't want to be obsessed that I'm not spending enough time with Jay when I'm in the middle of working. When I'm trying to read a novel, I don't want to be thinking about my work, right? I want to be all in when I'm doing them. So for me and a lot of you, the problem is not that I'm not doing what matters or that I'm doing the wrong stuff or like my life is out of balance because I'm not doing the stuff I want to be doing. It's that I'm kind of always thinking that I should be doing the other categories when I'm doing this one. Right? One of the biggest, most like culturally talked about examples of this is mom guilt. If you're at work, but you're feeling like you should be with your kid, that's you not feeling fully in the thing that you're in. Or if you're with your kid and you feel like you should be working or you should be contributing financially or you should be packaging that order. Or if you are reading, but you really feel like you should be washing the dishes, right? That's like always feeling like you're not quite doing what you should be doing because you should be doing that other thing. But if you're doing that other thing, you think you should be doing what you're doing now. So I'm going to be honest. I don't know how to stop that. I don't know how to stop the guilt, the feeling like you're doing the wrong thing, What I do know is that when you recognize the boundaries, first of all, you put in place boundaries around things in your life, around these categories, and you ahead of time plan when you're going to do the different categories, you can kind of let go. Because for starters, it's not all going to bleed together. You're not going to both be working and playing with your kid in the same moment. You're going to be working or you're going to be playing with your kid. When you put up boundaries, you keep it from bleeding together, and also keep it from all overwhelming you, from feeling like you need to be doing all of the things in all of the minutes. This is what we talk about in my class on time, taraswiger.com/time. That can help you keep all the things from coming together and overwhelming. But it's also natural you're going to think about other things. That's okay. What I want to help you get rid of is the guilt that you should be doing the other things. So by knowing when you're going to do what, by having a plan that, like, I don't need to be cleaning now because I'm reading the podcast. It's okay for my dirty dishes to be there because when I'm done doing the podcast, I'm going to do the dishes. Knowing that lets me just let go of the dishes for right now. Knowing that I'm going to spend time with the kids at a certain hour, completely all in playing with them, lets me think about it less when I'm doing this now. So what's helped me is knowing, okay, I'm going to have time for that later. I don't need to think about it now. I don't need to feel guilty about it now. Now is the time for this. It's having peace of mind that I have already allotted the time for the things that matter to me, so I don't have to keep obsessing over it right now. Now is the time for this. It's the time for the thing I'm doing. Now, this is a skill, and I go back and forth between being good at it and not being good at it, and kind of being scattered or being together. This is one of the key things I think that keeps us scattered, is feeling like we should just dip in and out of all of the categories all of the time instead of giving them their own bucket. But this is how having buckets and boundaries and deciding your day before it starts can really help you feel peace of mind about it throughout your day. So yes, you're still going to be distracted. If your kid has a cough, you're going to think about it all day no matter what you're doing. But knowing that you have time for both is going to help you let go and focus if you make that your goal. Now, after you look at your categories and you have your own list of categories, I shared mine with you. I took some time while I was writing this to think about my own categories, look at my week, look at where you're spending your time, where are the categories, and then decide where you would like to spend your time, where maybe it's different. And you don't have to do this forever. Just do this for this week. What categories need some love and attention this week? When can you give them that? I know one of our listeners is going on vacation to see her family, so that's what's going to get attention this week. Her house isn't going to get any cleaner while she's out of town. Her business is probably not going to get worked on, but she can go all in on this for this week, because next week is a different week. You can block it off on your calendar, or you can just pick your priority list for the day. 2 or 3 of these categories is your priority for the day. There is a book called Pick 3 or Choose 3. I think it's Pick 3, where the idea is that each day you don't have to do everything. You can just get to 3 categories and then rotate the 3 you work on. Now, this book completely ignores the fact that you don't really ever get a break from life admin. You don't get to just choose not to pay your bills if that's not the category you want to pick. And you don't get to choose to take a break from momming or from being in partnership with your partner, but you can decide which days or hours those categories are going to get your undivided attention. This is when I'm going to go all in on this, and this is when I'm not going to go all in on this. Maybe your Monday is focused on work and life admin, but you're still going to feed your kids and make dinner and speak to your spouse, right? But Saturday, you're gonna make that a real priority. You're gonna take your family to the library and the park, and you might still have to answer a couple work emails, or you might still post on Instagram, but it's not gonna get your focus for the day. Or maybe you're gonna go to the movies with your friend and forget everybody else and just watch the movie. So here's the thing I hope you're picking up as I'm talking about this. There is no right way to do it. There is no right categories for you to have. There is no right amount of time for you to spend on these things. For us driven type A types, it's super annoying that there's not a way to get this right. You can't get an A on this paper. We want to get it right? We want to spend the right amount of time with our family. We want to have the right amount of time for our business. We want to have the right amount of hours that we're dedicating to things to be optimal. Maybe that's just me. But the awesome thing about this is if there's no right way, there's no wrong way. You can't get this wrong. You can just keep experimenting and figure out what works for you. You can decide to focus for this week, right now. What does your family need from you this week? What does your business need from you this week? What does your body and your own self-care need from you this week? And guess what? Next week is another week. You can shift your focus. Or what I've been doing, because I kind of don't know when another foster care call will come, is I prioritize like for the next 3 days. This is my priority for 3 days. If foster care doesn't disrupt my life and I get this 3-day thing done, 3 days from now, I'm going to pick the next 3 days. If you have young children, that might need to be your focus. If you're in a different stage in your business, that might need to, you just prioritize for today, because who knows what tomorrow will bring. So I know that this is something that a lot of you really struggle with, and it gets in the way of you enjoying your business or life. It keeps you in a constant sense of not enough, not worthy enough, not doing enough. So if that's you, and if doing these exercises where you look at your categories and you just prioritize for today or this week, if that's not helpful and you're still swirling about this, I highly recommend that you just work with someone specifically about this, someone who can help you identify what you want to change and then hold you accountable for making those changes. Because sometimes we get in such a hole in some of these categories that we have to change a lot of parts of our life to change them up. Like, this episode is really aimed at people who are where I am, where you're adjusting bits and things in your life are changing. So you're coming up with new categories, but in general, you're not super unhappy with where you're spending your time. If you need help really changing a category and being held accountable, my friend Jolie Kelly is who I talk about this, and she's a certified life coach. She can help you. This is not a paid advertisement. I just texted her and said, hey, I'm going to talk about balance, and I think this is something you help people with. We went back and forth about what she thinks about balance. I was like, that's actually what I'm putting in the podcast, but I know that there's a lot of people who just like my chill, don't worry about it, you'll figure it out, experiment for today thing is not going to be enough. They need to like go further. So if you need to go further and you need a real life person to like work with you, this is my real life recommendation. So go to joliecreates.com. She's got a couple life coach spots available. She also has a community where you can work with her and get some coaching. So get some expert help. If this is keeping you from feeling happy with your business and your life, it's worth it to work on it. It's worth it to prioritize this, fixing how you feel about your life and your business, so that you enjoy the success you're creating in your family and in your business and in your fun times. So tell her this episode sent you so she knows what you want to work on, but this is not, that's just like my actual friend who actually helps me with this. It's joliecreates.com. Remember, you can find the links to everything I mentioned, including my class, working with Jolie, the transcript for this whole episode if you want to read through it. Remind yourself what my categories are. Tell me what your categories are. You can find all that at taraswiger.com/podcast257. I want to hear what your categories are. So come tell me on Instagram. Use the hashtag Explore Your Enthusiasm. Tag me. Do it in your stories. Do it in your post. Make sure you tag me so that I see it. I am super interested to hear how you balance your categories. Thank you so much for listening. I wish you an enthusiastic week where you are fully in the flow and you are present in whatever you're doing.